Imagine a world where energy is clean, virtually limitless, and safe. A world where our biggest environmental worries are a thing of the past. Sounds like science fiction, right? But what if I told you that the power source of stars, the very energy that lights up our sun, could one day power your home? Welcome, science enthusiasts, to the incredible, complex, and utterly groundbreaking world of fusion energy. So, what exactly is fusion energy? At its core, it's the opposite of nuclear fission, the process used in today's nuclear power plants. Fission splits heavy atoms to release energy. Fusion, on the other hand, combines light atoms, typically isotopes of hydrogen like deuterium and tritium under immense heat and pressure. When these nuclei fuse, they form a slightly lighter nucleus and release a tremendous amount of energy in the process. Think of it as mimicking the sun itself. The promise of fusion energy is truly breathtaking. Why are scientists and engineers dedicating their lives to this challenge? Clean energy, fusion produces no long-lived radioactive waste. The primary fuel, deuterium, can be extracted from seawater, making it practically inexhaustible. Safety, there's no risk of a meltdown. If something goes wrong, the reaction simply stops. Abundant fuel, deuterium from water, and tritium that can be bred from lithium, which is also plentiful. We're talking millions of years of fuel supply. High energy output, a small amount of fuel can produce an enormous amount of energy. A single kilogram of fusion fuel could provide the energy equivalent of 10 million kilograms of fossil fuel. Alright, if it's so amazing, why isn't it powering our homes already? The short answer, it's incredibly difficult. We're trying to replicate the conditions inside a star, here on Earth. Extreme temperatures, we need to heat hydrogen isotopes to over 100 million degrees Celsius, 10 times hotter than the sun's core, to get them to fuse. At these temperatures, matter turns into a superheated, ionized gas called plasma. Confinement, how do you contain something that hot? You can't use any material container because it would instantly vaporize. This is where powerful magnetic fields come in. Devices like tokamaks and stellarators use magnetic bottles to hold the plasma away from the reactor walls. Net energy gain, the holy grail, is achieving ignition, where the fusion reaction produces more energy than is required to heat and contain the plasma. We're getting closer, but it's a monumental engineering feat. The largest and most ambitious fusion project in the world is ITER, Latin for the Way. Located in southern France, ITER is a collaboration of 35 nations, including the EU, China, India, Japan, Korea, Russia, and the United States. It's essentially a giant experimental tokamak designed to demonstrate the scientific and technological feasibility of fusion power on a large scale. When operational, ITER is expected to produce 500 megawatts of fusion power from 50 megawatts of input heating power, a tenfold return on energy. This won't be generating electricity for the grid, but it's a crucial step towards understanding how to build a commercial fusion reactor. While ITER is the big magnetic confinement project, it's not the only game in town. Stellarators, these devices also use magnetic fields but have a more complex, twisted coil design. They aim for continuous operation without the need for an electric current in the plasma itself, potentially offering more stability. Germany's Wendelstein 7X is a leading example, achieving impressive plasma confinement times. Inertial confinement fusion, ICF. Instead of magnetic fields, ICF uses powerful lasers or ion beams to rapidly heat and compress a tiny pellet of fusion fuel. The idea is to create fusion conditions for a fleeting moment, igniting the fuel before it can fly apart. The National Ignition Facility, NIF, in the US is the world's largest ICF experiment, renowned for its milestone in December 2022. Speaking of NIF, in December 2022, they announced a monumental achievement. They generated a net energy gain in a fusion reaction for the first time in history. This wasn't just a slight improvement, it was a clear demonstration that more energy was produced by the fusion reaction than was delivered by the lasers to the fusion target. While the total energy required to fire the lasers was still significantly higher than the fusion output, this was a massive scientific leap. It proved that ignition is possible. This breakthrough has ignited new optimism and is accelerating research across all fusion approaches. For decades, fusion research was primarily the domain of large government-funded projects. But that's changing rapidly. The past few years have seen an explosion of private companies entering the fusion race, backed by billions in venture capital. Commonwealth Fusion Systems, CFS, spun out of MIT, CFS is developing a compact, high-field tokamak using revolutionary high-temperature superconducting magnets. Their aim is to build a smaller, faster path to commercial fusion. Their spark experiment has already demonstrated these powerful magnets. Helion, focusing on a pulsed field reversed configuration, Helion aims for a more compact and potentially direct energy conversion approach. TE Technologies, pursuing an aneutronic fusion reaction with advanced beam-driven field reversed configurations. General Fusion, exploring magnetized target fusion, using liquid metal walls and pistons to compress plasma. These companies are bringing a new level of agility, innovation, and urgency to the field. They're often exploring alternative designs and technologies, hoping to find a faster and more cost-effective route to commercial power. So, the million-dollar question: when will fusion energy power our homes? The classic joke in fusion circles is that it's always 30 years away. But with the recent breakthroughs and private sector investment, that timeline is genuinely shortening. Scientific feasibility, achieved. Thanks to NIF, we've now demonstrated net energy gain. ITER will prove large-scale power generation. Engineering prototypes, next 10-15 years. Companies like CFS aim to have their first power-producing plants, like their arc reactor, in the early to mid-2030s. These will be demonstration plants, proving the technology works and can generate electricity. Commercial power, 2040s onwards, widespread deployment for grid-scale electricity is still likely several decades away. We need to move from "it works" to "it's economically viable" and "it's scalable." Challenges remain in material science, tritium breeding, and cost reduction. Even after we achieve consistent net energy gain and build prototype reactors, there are significant hurdles. Materials science, the intense neutron bombardment from fusion reactions can degrade reactor materials over time. We need robust, long-lasting materials. Tritium breeding. Tritium is rare. Future reactors will need to breed their own tritium from lithium within the reactor walls, a complex engineering challenge. Cost and scalability. Building these advanced facilities is expensive. We need to find ways to make them economically competitive with other energy sources and scalable for mass production. Regulatory framework. Establishing safety standards and regulatory pathways for a completely new form of energy generation will be crucial. Despite the challenges, the potential impact of fusion energy is so profound that it's worth every bit of effort. Imagine zero-carbon baseload power, reliable, always-on electricity that doesn't contribute to climate change. Energy independence, nations relying on domestic, abundant fuel sources. A cleaner planet, drastically reduced air pollution and environmental impact. New industries and jobs, a completely new sector of the economy. Access to cheap energy, potentially transforming global development and alleviating energy poverty. Fusion energy is no longer just a distant dream of science fiction. It's a tangible goal, a monumental scientific and engineering challenge that we are actively tackling. The question isn't if fusion will power our homes, but when. And with every breakthrough, every innovative design, every dedicated scientist and engineer, that when gets a little closer. The future of energy is being forged right now, and it looks incredibly bright. What do you think about the future of fusion? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that like button, subscribe for more science content, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration into the wonders of our world.